Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Josephine, and I'm here with Gijs and Wouter. Wouter's from Hieroo, we're going to be speaking with today, and Gijs is also from Move to Impact, who we're hosting this webinar today. Thank you all for being here. If you want to drop in the chat, I've asked a few questions. If you want to just say your company and your name and what you are specifically hoping to learn today. So yeah, take it over, Gijs.
Welcome everyone. Thank you, Josephine. Wouter, I already made you co-host, so you can present your start sharing your presentation.
Okay. First, thanks Move to Impact for the invite. I haven't been in Zoom for a while, so I hope it works good, but I think you can see it right now. Okay. Yes. So we are Hieroo. I want to talk short a bit at who we are, what our motivation is behind what we do, and then especially what we do, and that is the bridge towards the B Corp assessment, because what we do is making impact, and that impact is what the B Corp is all about. So first, we are Hieroo. We're founded in 2018, only in Amsterdam. Now we already have grown towards Utrecht, Rotterdam, Den Haag, Twente, Zwolle, and Groningen. So we're making a huge growth for the last year. Mostly we offer a traineeship of 2 years, where you get educated to become a consultant. And the funny thing is, that's why we call it Hieroo. Hieroo is called over here in Dutch. We are focused on regional consultants. So for example, Amsterdam consists of Amsterdam inhabitants working for Amsterdam companies. So Amsterdam for Amsterdam, and it's the same for the other cities. And that local mindset is also throughout the whole company. For example, our suppliers and our customers, and everything is focused on local, because we can think the best impact is made local. Our customers are from every part of the society. For example, because we don't have particular educational backgrounds for our trainees, so we can do like everything. For example, now I'm working at the transportation GVB of Amsterdam, but before this I worked at HG, which was cleaning products. So that's where you have all kind of customers. And why we do it. Our director once worked at a Big Four company, and then some family tragic happened, and then he was like, is work everything there is, or is there more? And then he thought about that, and then he thought like environment, which was very bad, and people to themselves were very bad. For example, more people commit suicide than die in war, and there's a pay gap, and all that things made him think there's more than just work. And that's why he found Hieroo, because he wanted to make consultancy firms which could also do positive impact on society and on the planet. So that's the motivation behind why Hieroo was founded. And that's the most important thing, is that we go from ecosystems to the ecosystem. And what does that mean? For example, everybody wants in a car and go to the work, but altogether we make sure there are traffic jams and bad impact on the environment. But if we all think together, we can go to a win-win situation where nobody has to be homeless or poor or sick or whatsoever. So all together we can make a positive impact. And the bike. And what we do, and we'll talk about that more in the rest of this webinar. But for example, for the social impact, we have yearly social innovation projects. This year we have the subject of homeless people, but especially with the new gas prices and maybe a financial crisis that will be a major problem in the following years. So we want to address that. We have like meetups. So we have social bondage between young professionals, etc., etc. Because it's a long list, so I won't talk about all that. And the most fun thing I think about Hieroo is the bike. It's a brand bike, and it's good for the environment, good for your physical health, and it means that you can only have local clients, because otherwise it will be too far. And it all comes together at the B Corp, because that helps you measuring, do all those impactful things, and that's why we're here. And that we are going to talk about the B Corp assessment. So that's in a nutshell what we do. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about Hieroo.
Thank you, Wouter, for your presentation. Everyone feel free to put your questions in the chat about this, but for now, let's dive a little bit more specifically into, well, as you said, you do a lot of social, social projects and social consultancy projects. Why specifically the B Corp certificate?
Well, why specifically the B Corp assessment? I'm not sure if there are like a whole lot of other certificates who do more or less the same, because there are more certificates, for example, like the ISO 9000 on all those kind of labels. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing is about B Corp that it is based on impact, but on more than just the environment or more just on social impact. It has like the total package. And it helps labeling and benchmarking companies to do have impact, and not only for big multinationals, but also for smaller firms. So it's very interesting for us to do that, because it both helps you measuring and both helps promoting you that you are being impactful.
Yeah, very cool. And are you with the like in the team? The only one answering the questions in the BIA, or how much or how many people are you working on?
We are at Hieroo. We are with what was it? Something like 7 hubs. So we have one person from every hub working at least in the B Corp certificate, and that can be challenging because there is a physical distance. So we have to do a lot of it online, and that can be difficult working in the same environment while being on other places. And it can be hard filling in. For example, if you look at energy uses of your buildings, we have 7 different buildings, and none of them is like our main office. So that makes it hard to fill in. And the most challenging is you can make an upload from the Excel from the assessment. So you can all work together in that Excel. But if you fill in certain questions, like a next level question arises, and your old Excel is outdated, so you have to upload a new Excel, and that makes it very hard to get an overview of all the questions, because they continuously change while you fill in the assessment.
That's actually an interesting way of working with the BIA. I don't think I ever heard that before, by downloading or getting the export from the BIA and then filling in the answers. That's interesting. But before you started answering the BIA or getting to read more about B Corp, what were you expecting before answering the BIA?
Well, I thought there would be a little bit more assistance, because we find the questions are very US based. For example, local means like 50 miles. Well, 50 miles, 80 kilometers is not local in the Netherlands, and you're at the other side of the country. And how comprehensive your answer has to be is also quite vague sometimes. For example, you need a mobility plan, but if in our case the mobility plan would be go by bike, is that good enough to have for a count as a mobility plan? And all those questions sum up that we don't know for example, how big a code of ethics should be, or all those kind of documentations. And then they give examples, but they are quite generic, or from big companies, for example, Ben & Jerry. I understand they have like a couple of legal persons doing that all day, but we can't. So that makes it hard to know what kind of, in which depth you need to answer some questions. And then it's hard to find a person from B Corp to help answering it. That can take a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like with questions like that, that's like, do the best as you can within your like available people as well, and available capital, and then from there, and not trying to linger too much on maybe too specific details.
Yeah.
But so what impact area are you focusing on, or is everyone focusing on, say, like working all together on governance and then moving on to the next? How do you?
No, we did make some kind of division. I'm on governance together with Zwolle, and I'm focusing currently, for example, on the mission log, so that when we're in bad economic times, the director don't change our impact, because that's an ongoing risk. For example, now we do the social innovation project, but financially seeing that only costs money. You invest in the environment and in the society, but you don't get direct funds for it back. So if, for example, we have in Amsterdam like 12 consultants and 6 would be without a job, you will have red numbers, but then we still want to do the innovation of the social innovation project. And that's what Mission Lock will enable, that you keep on making impact, even when it's going bad financially. But I'm working that, and it's quite hard, because that's also a bit US based with laws. So yeah.
And okay, so is then mostly, as I hear, like the challenges you face with you and your team is more, let's say it's more US based than you feel it would be like Euro based or Dutch based.
Yeah, it's especially more US based, maybe a bit Euro based, but it's totally not Dutch based. For example, for simple laws we all have here. For example, you can't child labor and all that kind of stuff. It's illegal in the Netherlands, but you still see those questions coming up in the assessment.
Do you think then for, or maybe how would you stand against like having a more, let's say, nationally based B impact assessment? So there's a Dutch B impact assessment and a Belgium, a British one.
Yeah, I think that will be better, because you will have it will be more detailed. It will make a lot of more work for the B Corp, because they have like to make 100 different assessments. Because the language isn't a problem. It's just it's based on a different kind of society. We have other laws, other habits. Other things are important over here. Even like for example, the environment. We're very flat, so we don't have the hydropower, or we don't have like Sweden, a lot of trees for bio energy. So that's also different. So there needs to be like custom made assessments, which will be great for the end result, but it will be more labor intense for B Corp to create all those different assessments.
Yeah, true. How do you feel about the way you have to collect data for your governance, but maybe have you heard from other impact areas how they have to collect data, or how much is required?
Yeah, that can be quite difficult to fetch your data. For example, we are in the shared community space with our offices, so we have more higher utility of office space. But it's very hard to find the energy numbers or to even get them. So we have to like estimate it currently while we want to monitor it, just because then you can make a new strategy for energy consumption or whatsoever. But if you can't measure it, you don't know if you're improving or not.
Yeah.
So that's very hard to have like a benchmark of some numbers.
Yeah, and well, you mentioned in conversation we had earlier that you've stated Hieroo, your mother company, and they are also currently working on the B Corp process. Do you feel like you can lean on each other based on, let's say, policies, for example?
Yeah, we can learn from our documentation, what they have and what we have, so we can work together. But in the end, our organizations are still a bit different. For example, we have the bikes, they don't, and that's a major. We have the social innovation project, they don't. So we're like totally different in operations, but we can learn from how we both do the assessment. So that's very helpful if you would know like other companies going through the assessment. That truly helps because you don't have to figure it out all yourself, or a company like Move to Impact to help you.
Maybe Josephine, in between, do you have anything to ask about as well?
Maybe just what have you found has been your greatest challenge so far in the B Corp certification process, and how long have you been working on it? Do you see yourself at like the middle of the process or towards the end? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be a lot quicker process. We're already working on it like almost a year, because we do it like besides our regular jobs with a lot of relating people. So sometimes some knowledge gets lost, and it's a very lengthy process. While if you would like put a few people on it full time, it will go a lot faster. And we're not in a hurry, but it feels like we're gonna just check the box and finish the assessment. And now we're just struggling. We're almost at the 80 points, so that's good. But it takes a while. While in the back, it's more about filling in the assessment and changing our operations so far. So if we would like magically fill in the assessment a year ago, we would get like the same points as we do now.
Because you mentioned Mission Lock, which is an impact business model. How are you working with the other impact business models? Is this a way that is inspiring your like Hieroo to function in a different way? I don't know. Is it inspiring different shifts, or how are you working with the impact business models?
What do you mean with the other impact business models?
So you've mentioned Mission Lock, right? Which is an impact business model, and there are other ones that open up or like are options throughout the entire 5 impact areas. And I'm wondering if are you working with certain other impact business models? Have other ones come up that fit for your company, or are you struggling with knowing and working with the impact business models? Or because I think sometimes people can get like really confused with that part, and wondering what your process has been with those.
I even didn't know there were like other kinds like the Mission Lock. So that's probably in the other theme. So I don't know that.
So other people on your team might be working on it. Okay. But it's not been something you've like collectively discussed or looked at together?
Well, that's probably like over 100 of questions, and we've discussed it multiple times. So you get like lost in translation because of the sheer size of the whole assessment. So that's why we got it up between different people, so the workload is lower individually, but that results in not knowing the whole assessment by mind.
And Hieroo is a service-based company, right? So rather than a product-based. And how have you found, are there certain questions you feel like in the BAA that are not easy to answer as a service-based company, or what are some of the variant differences you might see there that between a service-based company like yourself or a different product-based company?
You see, for example, at a product-based companies, a question like water disposal and waste management makes more sense because we don't have it. But does that mean that you're like very environmentally friendly?
Yeah.
There's like a gray area between that if you like don't have it, is it then good or whatsoever? So we're struggling to improve impact on that because we almost don't use it. For example, energy usage with like the heating and maybe your brightness of the screen, but can you improve that? So we're more working on the social impact and how we pay our employees equal and diversity policies. We are more focused on that than like the physical part of the assessment, because we find it's very hard for us to map that.
Yeah, so it sounds like especially the environment section seems to be a challenge for a service-based company like your own. And are you able to find, like, how have you been finding either support or like in guidance and being able to answer that section, or is it still a big question mark throughout different questions?
Yeah, it's still a big question mark. We just fill it in with some common sense, but it's still just like we're just doing what we think makes sense, but it isn't like structured very well. Just fill it in and try our best and hope we'll pass it if we upload the assessment.
And the right documentation. Yeah.
Because hope and just pass it. I was wondering, are you like seeing a question in the BIA and they're like, we want to have this, let's say, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months? Do you immediately start working on it while you're filling it in, or you just pass the question and it's like, go on to the next?
Yeah, some we can just check the box and go next, but sometimes you need to, like, for example, the code of ethics, first put it on paper and have a document, and then you can fill it in. And we think the documentation part is where all the work is for us now, and then we can just check the box in the assessment. We just have to formalize a lot of documentation. For example, the mobility plan for the bikes. We already have the bikes, everybody gets a bike, but it's not written down in a mobility plan that you get a bike.
So there's a lot of stuff you already do, but okay. And that again, is that also like, is that all the same for every location? So for all 7 locations, or is
it's standardized? Everything we do is standardized over the organization, but we do it how you'd say, by mind. There's not like a big file where our business model is written down. We just spread the word mouth to mouth without having like a big document where everything stands.
We have a quick question from the audience. Someone's asking about how have you presented these values of the B Corp certification to your employees? So how do you translate what B Corp stands for, and really that it's not just, maybe if I understand the question correctly, not just your team working on those questions and thinking about the values and the different elements of it, but also that it's across your whole, every employee of your company. What does that look like?
Well, the basic values are shared constantly. What we do and how.
Like via, how do you share?
Well, for example, every half year a new shift of trainees come in, and so the director always has a public stand up about the talk why we are Hieroo and why we do what we do. And we have how would you call it? It's a model. It's called Hieroo, and it helps figuring out a true ascension of a problem.
Okay.
I will give a little explanation about that. Normally, you would like download with the knowledge you have when you ask a question. For example, what do you need? I need a table. So you think about a table, square with 4 legs, and that's a table. But if you go in depth why you need the table, I want to sit with my family to have dinner. You go to the true nature of the problem, and then you go find a true solution, and that's the you make, and that's how we do our work with our clients, how we do everything in the company. And that's same with the impact that's communicated in that, like on almost a weekly basis. It's communicated in trainings, in education days, whatsoever. And we communicate about B Corp, especially in the chats and via LinkedIn and on the website, just communication letters.
And so some of these values that we see core to B Corp, maybe in terms of transparency, a holistic understanding of impact, where do you feel like those are those things that Hieroo already does? And thus just when you communicate about what you're doing, you're essentially also communicating about B Corp, or do you find that you're also communicating specifically about the B Corp values in addition to the Hieroo ones?
Well, we are very enthusiastic about the B Corp idea, so we're trying to spread the word and let other companies also try to become B Corp.
Yeah.
Because it's truly like it gives you guidance in creating more impact, positive impact. So that's why it can be very good for other companies to also become a B Corp. And in the end, it will help the world if more people, more organizations become B Corp and truly use those values.
So maybe what I'm hearing is that in a way, some of the values are already important to Hieroo. So by promoting those values more directly in terms of like a deeper understanding of the root problem and in certain maybe consulting or different elements, that then you're also kind of inherently promoting also the B Corp values, or are not doing that independently. Is that correct?
Yeah. And for example, even like the small things, we try to do it at our clients also, like promote the values of Hieroo and B Corp. But we still see there's a big gap between those two. For example, at a traditional client, they throw away all the coffee cups instantly, and they put on the heating at 25 degrees and all that kind of stuff. So we find it very hard to make impact over there and transpond the values of B Corp and Hieroo to them. But especially at the social innovation projects and our trainees and friends and family, we noticed those values do get communicated and we do get impact over there.
And what they're asking about that FAIR model that you mentioned, what was that called exactly?
Yeah, it's yeah, and it's very cool. That's it's made of a few professors, and one of them lives in South Africa, and one of our colleagues now also lives in South Africa and works together with the founding mother, it's a female, of Hieroo. So that's very cool. It's worth looking at. It can be a bit fake in the beginning when you see it. It took me 2 years to truly understand the idea behind it, but it helps you unravel systems, so you can go from the ego system to an ego system.
Interesting. And just kind of with those B Corp values in mind again, like how did you self-identify yourself to work on the B Corp program, or how did this group of individuals from each of the 7 hubs of Hieroo, how did you get together were you self-identified? Like, did you say, I want to work on the B Corp certification?
I'm
how
not
did
sure
you create
how
that team to work on the BAA?
Really started, but somebody mentioned that a B Corp existed, and they just sent a group mail who was interesting to exploit the opportunities. And then a few volunteers, so to say, signed up, and with that group we started the B Corp journey.
Okay. There's another question. So to another company, could you recommend a book or a guide on how to use Hieroo together with the B Corp values, such as something that you do?
There's written a lot about Hieroo. and I'm thinking about the shortest version. There are like books where like 700 pages thick, so I won't recommend those.
And something specifically to like in combination with the B Corp values, something an overlap there.
No, I'm not really sure of that. No. Maybe I'll think about the title later on, and I'll send it via you to.
But do you find that you use this theory U in your B Corp certification journey?
Yeah, because you go.
Could you give an example? How?
Well, for example, like measuring your social impact. First, it was like you only measure like quantitative stuff, how much CO2 you emit, or how much the equal pay or the miles you bike. That's all measurable, but the social impact seemed quite vague. And because of that, you don't know if you do it better than last year, because every year you want to improve your social impact. But because the Theory U and the B Corp, we just kind of let go that you have to measure the amount of impact. For example, safety or whatever positive impact, but you can't really measure it. Yeah, you can measure like the decline of burglars or whatsoever, but you just have to sometimes let go of measuring certain values of impact. And that was because of the B Corp assessment and Theory U.
It's interesting, because especially because the BIA really asks for those measurements and is asking for quantification of these values and goals. So it's kind of then thinking more about, if you're following this Theory U and following about the root cause of the social impact, that you think about more about that versus like the mode of achieving that.
Yeah, for example, like the downloading is maintained. The first step would be like with a closed mind, closed heart. We only have to measure impact, and if we can't measure it, it won't be good. And then you're like, yeah, why are we doing the impact? And you go into the depth, and then you just let go of doing the impact, and then it results in, funny enough, in making more impact, because you don't get busy with the measuring part.
That's super interesting. I've never heard of Theory U, specifically in this context and its application there. Super interesting. Yeah, pass it back to Gijs.
Yeah, sure. I think actually we with that little side pass, that was really interesting indeed, to also see how the values can or cannot be connected with in Theory U. So that's really cool. Actually, I think we handled this on most of our webinars already, but last summer there was a lot of talk about the B Corp certificate, because there were some, well, let's say Nespresso and Rituals were also becoming a B Corp, and there was a lot of controversy around the certificate. How are you, or you personally, or just in general, think about that?
Well, I just found the title of the book. Okay. This is the book we mostly use. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Can you ask the question again, sir?
Yeah, sure. So we've handled this in previous webinars as well, and as we saw or seen during the summer, there Nespresso and Rituals and some of the larger companies became a B Corp as well, and created a lot of waves and controversy around the B Corp certificate. So I was wondering how maybe you personally, or as Hieroo, you look at the B Corp certificate with all the controversy.
Yeah. Funny enough, while doing good, people are always kind of skeptical about some things. For example, if you start driving electrically, they start about the batteries and how bad they are for the environment and whatsoever. So they always find something. If you are like a vegetarian, yeah, but the soya also needs a lot of land and whatsoever. They always think about something negative. While I think in general, you try to do it good, but it's a fact that the B Corp has some issues. For example, you don't get negative scores on some things. So if you would like be totally bad at your governance, but all the other four themes are good, you can still pass the assessment. So that's a bit strange. And it is known that especially big companies, they like pinkwashing and greenwashing and whatsoever. Every year, again, with the Pride Month, all the Unilever and Shell and big companies turn in the rain flag colors, and a week later it's over. So yeah, that doesn't stop us in becoming a B Corp and doing impact, because we do it for ourselves and not for those companies. So we just go on.
Let's keep going. Yeah, very good. Yeah, just sort of minding your own business and make sure you do business for good, and not necessarily like taking in from others or well, getting a hit from negative news or impact. With that, did you as Hieroo maybe got along with the discussion, or got messages from your clients, for example, about the B Corp process that you're like they're more negative about? Or
the funny thing is, we try to close the gap between what we do impact based and our clients, because now our clients just hire us for the consultancy work we do. And when we talk about all the other great things we do, it's like a cool extra, but it's not a deal breaker. And we want to go towards in the future, hopefully the close future, but that they would hire Hieroo because we are impactful and not only because of the consultancy work. So nowadays, some of our clients don't even know we do this kind of stuff. They just see a consultant walk around and do the work. But we hope to close that gap, so even the clients become more impactful, and so the change will start.
Creating sort of additional value for your customers as well by
and then you get a snowball effect that more companies will join the B Corp movement.
Cool. Then one maybe final, maybe not final. Do you have a word of advice for fitting in the BIA for say as a consultancy?
I would say just do it. Just fill in and see how far you will get. Worst case, you will get the assessment back and have to do it again. So just fill it in, make it fun. It's a fun journey about exploring how far you already are in being impactful. For example, Hieroo was like, founded to be impactful, but then we found out, we don't have a code of ethics or something like that. We are ethical, but we don't have written it down. So you learn a lot about your own company. So it's a fun journey to fill in the assessment.
Cool. Okay. Just do it. Just fill it. Yeah. Cool. Great. If in the chat there are no more questions, and Josephine,
No. Perfect.
I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Wouter.
We have one quick question. Someone just raised their hand. Feel free to either type your message or you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Rumalka joining from Sri Lanka.
Hi.
Sorry, I actually missed the first part of the webinar because of the time difference.
Oh, no worries.
Couldn't really recognize that it has already started. So I just want to let you all know that we are also started on working for the B Corp certification. Probably the first company that will be attempting for a B Corp certification in Sri Lanka.
Probably
So,
yeah.
yeah, so we feel a little challenged in answering certain questions and how we can embed these whole concepts to the strategy. So if I can get some more insights or slides that you have already shared on how we can go for it, that would be cool.
Yeah, we can maybe challenge Wouter to summarize in 1 minute maybe what his main advice would be is maybe just talk about how you split up the BIA in the different groups or how you've been approaching the process as a quick abbreviated or as
Yeah, I'll give a management summary of the meeting, and it's beside that it's recorded, so you can look it back. No, we divided the workload of the assessment over like 7 or 8 consultants, because it can be quite challenging to do it besides your regular work. So maybe you can do it with a small team full time if you have the possibility to do that. And yeah, the assessment is quite USA based, so sometimes you have to make the translation to your own organization. And yeah, hopefully it's not too challenging that everything is in English. And yeah, it will create a lot of documentation. So you have to be organized in structuring that, because you will be working on the documents in the following years. Because it's an ongoing process of being a B Corp. It's not you fill it in and then you're ready for all time. You will be ongoing work.
Okay, thank you very much. I will definitely look into the recording and the presentation slides or anything like that to get more insights. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Then everyone, good luck. Wouter, to you. With getting to those 80 points and getting the certificate. And I wish you a lovely weekend and talk to you soon. The webinar will be online and sent to you via email. You can find the webinar on our website. I believe then Josephine also said some links about some slides that you can get about recommendations and requirements for the B Corp certificate. And filling in the BIA, so have a look at those as well.
Yep, great. Thank you so much again, Wouter, and everyone to join today and is listening back on this. Good luck in your B Corp journeys.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.